An investor has called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez financially illiterate. And I didn't need this news story to tell me this because I read the news. I should say, I read enough stories about Ocasio-Cortez thinking that accounting errors are money or that discounts are money to know that she is very likely financially illiterate. Not only that, her policy positions are pipe dreams. And that's not my opinion. That's literally what did Pelosi called it a green dream, the Green New Deal. Well, let's read what this investor means. Maybe there's something else here. An investor has labeled Ocasio-Cortez financially illiterate for her role in destroying the Amazon deal, which saw the retail giant pull out of New York. Tracy Maitland, president and chief investment officer of Advent Capital Management, was speaking at an Al Sharpton conference in the city where AOC had herself earlier unveiled a radical 2020 victory plan for Democrats. During a panel discussion, Maitland said, "The people campaigning against the Amazon campus are financially illiterate." He later told the New York Post, "This was a disgrace. I partially blame AOC for the loss of Amazon. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. That's scary." Slow clap. Let me make one thing clear. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez headlined a protest to shut down this event. Is that hard to understand? Now, she goes on to claim it wasn't even in my district. I didn't do anything. Okay, come on. 4 million followers. You put out a tweet, you're doing something. And it's being noticed by even people who are speaking at the same event as her. We have to make sure she's better educated or vote her out of office. Woo! I agree. I don't live there, so I'm not going to vote for her. So, whatever. You guys do you. Well, she exploited the system. That's a whole other story. CUNY chairman Bill Thompson also said the pullout meant job opportunities were snatched away from students of the city university. He said, "We were at the table talking to Amazon on how students could get jobs. Those opportunities were snatched away." Speaking about the predominantly Black and Latino students, Thompson added, "Those students look like us. We're talking thousands of high-paying jobs. It was a disappointment from a CUNY perspective." That's City University of New York. Earlier, Ocasio-Cortez had called for reparations to Black Americans for slavery. The freshman Democrat is pushing the controversial policy that has gained traction among the field of candidates bidding to oust Donald Trump. It was among a list of other left-leaning policies, including support for free public colleges, and speaking about her cornerstone Green New Deal, Ocasio-Cortez said she would not shy away from bold decisions on healthcare, wages, and prison reform. So, there's a little bit more here, and then I have the other story about the call for reparations, and we're going to talk about this. Because, look, you can't talk about reparations without highlighting that even investors believe Ocasio-Cortez is financially illiterate. She drew criticism for seeming to affect an accent while speaking to a mostly Black audience at a conference. "Ain't nothing wrong with that," the freshman Democrat drawled while speaking on Friday at Sharpton's National Action Network conference in the Sheridan Times, yada yada. "I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that." She said there's nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy. Conservative pundits quickly pointed out the jarring accent that Ocasio-Cortez seemed to slip into repeatedly, which sounded halfway between Southern drawl and, I don't know what that is, Boruca twang? Boruqua. Ocasio-Cortez hit back instantly, defending the accent as authentic on Twitter. Oh, come on, dude. It's not like she had this overt accent when she was giving the speech, but there was clearly she was trying to speak a certain way for when she said ain't nothing wrong with that. I think everyone's blowing out of proportion. I really don't care how she's talking. Apparently no one at the event really cared. So, if you're not there, whatever. "Folks talking about my voice can step right off," she wrote on Twitter. "Any kid who grew up in a distinct linguistic culture and had to learn to navigate class and viros at schoolwork knows what's up. My Spanish is the same way." Oh, please, come on. First of all, I don't care how she talks. Second of all, shut up, Ocasio-Cortez. Come on. We know what you did. It's the same thing Hillary did when she was speaking at some Southern event. But let's talk about your financial illiteracy and the concept of reparations. Now, let me try and be as fair and rational as possible to the legitimate argument in favor of reparations. You have a group of people that were brought here against their will. Historically, we can compare two scenarios. People who are Black have a deep-seated history with racism in this country. The idea then says that even with the Emancipation Proclamation, the end of the Civil War, The black people who were having kids didn't have wealth to pass down to them, nor the educations to transfer. It takes a long time to develop a culture, and that stuff carries down. So now you have people whose grandparents, were alive during segregation and stuff like that. And yes, even some older people whose grandparents were literally slaves. I think that's, the grandparents. It's time's moving on, but I'm talking about someone who's really old today, whose parents were born in like late 1800s. But here's the thing. I understand that. And the argument they're making is we should give them reparations to lift up the black community in the U.S. to try and, repair the problems that were caused a long time ago. The problem is that people like Cortez, and more notably Trevor Noah, talk about this idea as though it has merit, and there's a big problem with that. It's been, 160, 70 years since slavery ended, and I can recognize the argument for reparations. However, in that time, people like Trevor Noah came to the United States. Does Trevor Noah get reparations? How do you fund the reparations? Is the idea then that you take tax money from everybody? Well, hold on. Why does it make sense then that you're going to have first generation Chinese people paying taxes for reparations to the black community? Doesn't necessarily make sense. Unfortunately, I think the time for the idea of reparations in the like a layman sense, where they just give out money, I think time that's long since passed. I don't know if that makes sense. I do think it makes sense just to deal with class issues. And if your concern is that the black community is more likely to be impoverished, then class issues will put the fire out. So the analogy they use is there's two burning buildings. One's a big flaming, one's a huge massive fire, and the other's got a little fire. And the Black Lives Matter argument, this is literally a comic that was going around, was one person saying we should put the water on the burning house. And then it was a white person saying, yeah, but my house is burning too. Don't I deserve water? And the argument was supposed to be triage. Yeah, we'll get to you, but let's try and put the big fire out first. Actually, it's kind of interesting because that was their argument. But that's actually a good argument to put the small fire out first before it destroys the house, because the other house is already destroyed. But I digress. The problem here is my family came from Korea. Do I have to pay taxes to the U.S. government for reparations? Like, my family were immigrants. I believe my family was not here in the time of slavery. Like, I think my family goes back to my great grandparents coming from Germany and Korea. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't really tracked my genealogy or whatever. But the issue then becomes, how do you actually repair a situation without damaging another group, right? Look at it this way. Yes, I understand the argument for reparations, but what about people who came here 30, 40 years ago, had kids? You take from them to try and solve a problem. That doesn't make sense. Well, let's read what Ocasio-Cortez had to say about this. The freshman Democrat is pushing the controversial policy that has gained traction among the field of we get it. Ocasio-Cortez used her platform on Friday to call for the examining and pursuing an agenda of reparations among a list of other left-leaning policies, including support for free public colleges. Here's the thing, though, as I pointed out earlier. If we just approach this from a class issue, then we don't need to make it a race thing. You have to realize, listen, while I can understand and empathize with those who are saying, look at the history and look at historical racism, I also want to point out we're all Americans, and we want to do everything in our power to bring everyone together and dissolve the lines that divide us, of which race used to be one of the biggest. If today we're going to say that based on your race, you have to pay this tax or you get this money, that's just dividing lines. So look, the solution to these problems is typically counterintuitive. The left says, hey, they were historically disparaged. I got it. Let's give them money, without realizing what that's going to result in. Like immigrants paying into something they had no part in, like telling people distinctly the government pays based on race or taxes based on race. That is terrifying. Speaking about her cornerstone Green New Deal, which would entail a radical government-led overhaul of the economy, Ocasio-Cortez said she would not shy away from bold decisions on healthcare, wages, and prison reform. That is the moral, political, and economic underpinning of making bold investments and dignified jobs, because that is a necessary plan to fix the pipes in Flint and clean the air in the South Bronx, yada yada. Tuition-free public colleges. Okay, we get it. She's a socialist. Listen, she's a socialist identitarian. Identity politics can be a good thing. Civil rights movement. Identitarianism, building a government based off identity, is a terrifying thing. And yes, Ocasio-Cortez is financially illiterate. And you don't need an investment banker, whoever, to explain that to you. Although I will say one last thought. I find it particularly funny that at the event she spoke at, this guy went up on stage and had no problem saying she has no idea what she's talking about. I respect that. So, you know what? Here's another stupid video about Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah, I don't like making them either, but listen. As much as the left likes to claim everyone's obsessed with Ocasio-Cortez, or the right is obsessed with her, everyone is. Now the left circle jerks, oh, ooh, she's so great. And it's like, dude, come on, man. She's not. Nope. Like, you know, you take any politician, literally any of them, and you can make videos nonstop about him. I'll tell you what, though. Mitch McConnell, he's not that prominent. He's not on the cover of magazines. He's not the rising star of a political party, so I just don't care. Ocasio-Cortez is, and that's who gets talked about. So it is what it is. Stick around. I got some more videos coming up for you in a few minutes. I will see you then.